Welcome back to another episode.
And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, hello. I hope you enjoy the video content. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already and hit that like button so that lets us know you like our podcast content.
And hit the notification bell so you never miss a video with Lisa and Lucy. And let's get into this week's episode. We are in episode 3 where we're talking about what we would do if we started our sticker shop all over again. What we would do the
And these would
same.
be, anything like we would do the same or if we would do differently. This is like if we lost Sticker Guru today and
Or
what
if we
would we
just
do?
start it over, like
Yeah,
completely.
completely. This is what we would do. So let's get started. We have 4 things that we do different and then 3 things that we would do the same. So let's start with different. So the first thing that we would do different is to, one, have a business plan. And with that, really work on our branding because when I started Sticker Guru, I didn't even know like branding was a thing back then. Like I didn't know that was a term. I didn't know businesses like had branding. And so that's something I definitely overlooked. And like when I made my logo, it was just like some text. Like and I personally I don't think font really counts as a logo.
Okay, let me just say that for the people in the back. A font is not a logo. A, f- a font is not a logo. If you can't see me, if you're not watching the video
Yeah.
version of me, I'm like shouting this right now because
Like
it's so.
arms shaking.
I'm Dwight Schrute in the speech. A
Yes.
font is not a logo. It's not. But I think it's
It's
very
really
easy
not.
to think that in the beginning because you're like, oh, this is a unique font. And so now I've got a unique logo. But the truth is like anyone can take that font if it's not an original
Yeah.
font. Anyone
Yeah.
can take it and basically make the same thing. So
Mhm.
do not make the same mistake. Your
Yes.
logo can absolutely have your business name in a cool font, but there should be something else
Mhm.
about it that makes it unique, whether it's like the special shaping of the font or like the special coloring of the font or like I'm thinking about like FedEx. You know how like the way they have FedEx and there's like an
Yeah.
arrow in the
Yes.
FedEx
It's like
like
a hidden message almost.
yeah, like you got to have something. Just
It's
something
got to be
that makes
something
it
more.
hard to
Yeah.
copy.
And
So,
that way like people can set you apart from like other brands and it's like memorable.
yes, because when you think about a brand, like when I think about Target, I'm not thinking about the words Target. I'm thinking about the bullseye, right? Like I feel like it's very
Mhm.
iconic. Or Home Depot, I think about the color orange. Like there's just got to be something that's different. But so like what can people do if they're just starting out? Or what would you do since you're in this scenario starting out like in
Yes.
terms of creating branding?
Well, I think that's what our like main focus of our ebook that we are have been working on, and is I think officially launching this Tuesday. So this episode is going out
Yay.
on the
Monday.
3rd, and then our ebook is launching on Tuesday the 4th.
Yes.
Um, and I feel like the ebook really captures is like such a well-rounded like workbook,
Planner,
I guess,
workbook.
planner,
Yes.
workbook, planner of like guiding you through creating a business plan. Um, and we do talk about things like branding and like coming up with a logo, coming up with a shop name, like brand identity, like things like that. I feel like are so important when you're creating a business, and that's something I would definitely do, like fill out if I was starting a sticker shop brand new.
So you're saying like you would be a lot more intentional
Mhm.
about like what you choose versus like, oh, this is a cute font and
Yes,
I'm gonna just go with
definitely.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
And
definitely
I
put a
feel
lot,
like
like way more thought into it.
I agree. And I know some people they're like, "Well, I'm gonna have to pay a lot of money," or you're afraid that you're gonna have to end up paying a lot of money if you don't just come up with like a random font and do DIY
Hmm.
this yourself. But I feel like things nowadays, especially, there's so many more resources than when you first started out in terms of
Hmm.
creating logos, like Canva. Okay, freaking love
Canva was not a
Canva.
thing. Uh,
Yeah,
I think I use like PicMonkey, which like I think that's what YouTubers would use instead of like um, Photoshop. They would use PicMonkey to make their thumbnails, and so like Canva was really like not a thing back then. And like now I feel like it has so many features to it, especially the upgraded version. Even the free version, I'm sure, has like a lot to it, but Canva is really like a game changer.
and I Canva does have like a logo maker, like they have templates. So if you wanted to create a logo, like Canva, Etsy, Creative Market, like you might have to spend a couple bucks, but like you can find a bajillion templates out there. They're a free website. If you type in like logo generator, there's a ton of free websites. I use them for my um, business school, like when I was doing a mock-up of my first business idea for business school. I used a free logo generator and it looked awesome. Everyone was like, where did you get this?" Because like you can make really good ones nowadays for free. So um yes, if you take anything away from this, a font is not a logo.
Yes, a font is not a logo. You need to have more to your logo. But that doesn't mean like your logo has to be like crazy complex or anything like that. I feel like ours is like very simple and like
I love
straightforward. It's like a
ours.
sticker.
Yes,
We did
agreed.
pay for our logo
Yeah,
after like several of our
many
own
years.
DIY
We talk about
logos.
it
We
in the
finally,
Yeah, it's in the workbook. I made like a little timeline to show like how
yeah.
our logo has evolved over time. But yeah, branding is huge and it's a lot more components than you think. It's not just the logo, it's a lot
Hmm.
of other things that go into building a solid, cohesive brand. So,
Yes, and our ebook covers all of that.
yes, because it's so important. It is. Another thing, building upon this branding thing is just like being more intentional. Intentional. Did I say intentional? Intentional about your plans for your business. Because I do feel like when you started, you were a high school student. You didn't really know what you were doing. Like I mean,
Hmm.
you did research and you had a plan, but it wasn't like a fully fleshed out plan. You
Yeah,
kind of learned a lot of things along the way and just kind of
definitely.
like figured it out as you went.
Figured things out as I went, for sure.
Yes. And would you recommend doing that or like how would you
Um,
approach it now?
I would not. I think I would definitely do some more like research in terms of like the shops that were out there because when I started, I very much just wanted to create stickers that I was going to use. Um, which I think worked out fine back then. But I feel like nowadays, since there are a lot more shops, you do want to make sure you're not, or like you're aware of what other shops are selling and you don't want to sell like the same exact things. And I
Yeah,
feel like by doing competitor research or competitor analysis, it's not about like comparing yourself to them. It's more just making sure you are differentiating yourself and like making sure that you are different from what's
totally.
out there.
I think that's really important. It's like you're not copying other shops. Um and you're not comparing yourself to other shops, but it's more so like, okay, I know these shops exist. I know what they sell. What doesn't currently exist? Like how
Hmm.
can I serve these customers in a way that's their needs are not currently being met and how can I fill those needs? Um I feel like that's a really important distinction to make.
Hmm.
But yeah, and when you do that, the customers will naturally come because they're like, I can't get this anywhere else. So I think that's really important is to do market research. And
Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
we definitely do emphasize that a lot in the workbook as well. Um, but I'm really excited about this workbook. I think it's going to be really good.
Same. I think we already have like 140
Almost
something,
up, almost 150. Last
almost
time I
150
checked this
books
morning.
sold, which is super exciting. Like that has already surpassed our like expectations and goals. So we're super excited for this book to launch and for you guys to finally get started working on your business plans.
Yay! Plan a shop. I
Plan a
love
shop.
the name of the workbook. Plan a shop, like planner shop. Plan a
Yeah, it's
shop.
good.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure everyone understands. Okay. So, what would you do the same? Or actually, I mean, yeah. Let's. How about you answer this one?
Okay, so I think the first thing I would do the same is definitely have some sort of social media presence before really like opening the doors to your shop. And I think we have always been on YouTube for like so many years. So I feel like by the time I like opened Sticker Guru, like I was already used to posting on YouTube and like posting on Instagram, and like that was nothing new to me. And I feel like it also helped already having like some sort of following. That
Yes.
way it was like it's easier to convert, I guess, like get sales if you already have, some followers. Cause that way, like if you have like if you're launching your shop and your social media account on the same day, I would say that's probably not the best idea. Um, just
Yeah.
because you probably have like no presence and no followers.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also important to just get comfortable with posting because I do
Hmm.
think a lot of people are really camera shy, which is understandable if you're not familiar with, posting about
Hmm.
yourself or posting about your life, what your work, etc.
Yeah.
Just
I
even
do want to
talking.
say,
Hmm.
I wanted to add that like if you're thinking of creating a shop, make sure your social media account is like your shop and not like a personal account. Like make sure you're not just changing your personal account into a
Hmm.
business account.
Yeah, like if
Um
everyone who follows you is like people from high school, people from college,
yeah.
your cousins, etc., it's not necessarily the ideal target. And I would
Yeah.
recommend starting over, like starting a brand new
Like create a new
account.
Instagram account or wherever you're creating your social media platform.
Yeah, wherever it may be. It may not be Instagram if your customers aren't mostly on Instagram, like maybe it's TikTok or YouTube or Facebook, wherever. I just hopped on Lemon 8, which is TikTok's
Yeah.
new app. So I love testing out new apps. I think I've mentioned before. And so I'm really excited to try this one out. But, like whatever platform you're on, pick one
Yeah.
to start because it's really overwhelming to manage 5 bajillion of them,
Mhm.
and just
Yeah.
like start posting content because that's the only way you can get followers if you post content and relevant content, not like random stuff like what you
Random.
ate that
Yeah.
day or you
I mean,
know
like, I think those are fine for like stories because like your customer is getting to know the person behind your brand. But
yeah.
in terms of like posts, I would say keep it professional, and relevant to your business.
Yeah, because you're if you're brand new, you want to attract people who are going to become your customers. So like if you were to sell like exercise stickers, you would want to post exercise sticker related kind of content versus like
Hmm.
something completely random. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Like shopping, I don't know, like
Yeah.
something not related to it. So just making sure you're in posting the right sort of content and posting regularly. Just practice. No
Hmm.
one I think the best time to post whatever the heck you want and figure out what is works best for you is when you have no
Yeah.
followers because you have very, very low stakes.
Okay, so the next thing we would do different is not cutting corners in terms of shipping.
Oof.
So I'm sure if you've listened to our episode, Our Most Expensive Mistakes, then you definitely know what this one's about. So back in the day, for like the first few years, honestly, of running Sticker Guru. I was sending out orders as basically like there were like just envelopes with stamps on them, and I definitely regret doing that. And like the reason why I was doing that was to like save costs on shipping because as you know, shipping is expensive, and I didn't want customers to have to pay like I don't know, like $4 for shipping. So I would just like do like stamps on the package, and like that kept costs relatively low for shipping. But I think that definitely hurt us in the long run because people were like, what the heck? I thought you're like a legitimate business. Why are you sending things as like
Not tracked, like
with
just
no
snail mail.
tracking, just like really slow mail that like can't be tracked. So like if anyone's order went missing, I would have no way of like finding out where it was. They would also have no idea where it was. Like it was just not great. Um and I wish I would have switched to tracked mail sooner.
And it wasn't even so much of like, oh, we're trying to make more money this way. It was more like we
Mhm.
want to keep shipping costs low for our customers so that they're not spending a ton of money on shipping,
Mhm.
because we think that'll make them purchase, more often.
Yeah.
And
When
unfortunately, it
reality, like,
backfired. It was like the
yeah,
opposite.
because they like didn't trust. They had no trust in us once
Hmm.
they got their package, or if they didn't get their package. And so I feel like that really hurt us in terms of like having loyal customers.
Yeah. And I think that is an easy one that a lot of people starting out selling stickers do use stamps because stickers are so light and
Yeah.
generally small. So it's easy to just send it like that. But I would definitely not recommend doing that. We learned it the hard way, the really expensive way, and I would hate to
Yeah.
see anyone else make that mistake.
Yeah. It
So
was just like it's ironic because like we really thought we were saving some money, but really it was costing us customers.
definitely. So something that I would do the same, or I guess that you would do the same if you were starting over, is I know you started out with not the best stuff in
Hmm.
terms of materials. Like you kind of just use what you had in the beginning, like you had a printer at home, etc.
Hmm.
And then you just slowly upgraded over time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of people, when they think about wanting to start a sticker shop, they're worried about like a lot of overhead costs. Like, they feel like they need to have the best printer or they need to find the best sticker paper to start with. But I feel like that kind of just takes time. It also is expensive to do that. And like, if you're starting out and you don't know, like, if you will how long this business venture is gonna like how long you're gonna be doing it for, it's good to just start with low cost items and like work your way up until like you're really like sure about okay, I do want to do this business like long term or however long, and that way you feel more confident in your investments. um, so I would definitely still stay with like starting with cheap stuff and like working my way up.
Agreed, because I would rather have something that I paid like a super cheap price for and I upgraded over time and now that super cheap thing that I no longer use is a paperweight versus getting something really expensive and
Hmm.
figuring out like, oh, I actually don't need this or I don't, yeah, like I
Or
don't
like
need
I'm not going
this.
to continue with this. Like so now
Yeah,
I just
and
have a
then
really expensive paperweight.
exactly, exactly. Like if you had to choose between one of them becoming a paperweight, I think I would pick the cheaper option.
Mhm.
So, something
Yeah.
that like I feel like it's a good perspective to look at it because we do get messages from people who are like, I spent
Oh,
Like
I've spent like thousands of
thousands.
dollars trying to figure out a printer, and like they haven't even started their sticker shop yet. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
girl, like you better just return them all and start with whatever
Mm-hmm.
like is the cheapest, because like you don't even know if you're going to be doing this forever. So it's better to just start low and see where that goes.
Yeah. So you've heard us talk about like the lean startup, bootstrapping, all of that. I think it's really important to have a minimal viable product, the MVP. We talk about it a lot at business school, in the entrepreneurial space. All you need to launch is an MVP. All you need for like when you're talking to investors and you're trying to like get money, when you're trying to first start selling your products or prove that you can actually sell products,
Mm-hmm.
is you need an MVP.
Yes.
You don't need something to be perfect because frankly, it will never ever be perfect when you
It's
first
never going to be
launch.
perfect. Yeah. Especially when you're first launching. Like, nothing is perfect at first. Like, it's perfection takes time, I
It,
think.
it does. I don't even know if perfection is something that's, like I feel like that's something you're always striving
Mm-hmm.
for.
Yeah,
So to think that you can just launch with something perfect, I feel like that's something that will hold you back from actually launching. So all you
definitely.
need is an MVP. And to get that MVP, you really don't need much. Like you don't need to invest thousands. You just need,
Mhm.
in this case, like a printer, sticker paper, a cutting
Cutting
machine,
machine. Yeah,
and that's it.
definitely. So, the next thing that we would do different is we would reinvest sooner. And I feel like there's been so many like points in our business where we've like wanted to invest and then we're just like, oh, but I'm not sure like if it's worth it, or like it's kind of expensive, like I don't know if we're ready for that yet. And like some of the
Yep.
things that I'm just thinking of the top of my head is um when we wanted to get a thermal label printer to print out our shipping labels, because like we had been printing them out with just like a um,
Or printer, like
regular laser
regular print.
printer,
Yeah.
and we were just cutting it out by hand taping it onto the
Hmm.
packages, and like that was taking hours to do like 100 packages.
No,
It
but
literally took
actually,
hours.
hours.
Um, yeah. So, and
That was
like I
embarrassing when
remember,
I think about it.
and
Like I'm
like
cringing.
we would, this would be like for our subscription. So like back in like I don't know 2017, and I remember you're like we should get a like a Dymo label printer or something so we can print these shipping labels. And I was like, it's kind of expensive. It's like $200. Like, do we really need that? Like, we're only like we only have to do this once a month. Um,
Hmm.
cutting with scissors and hand taping all the shipping labels onto the subscription orders. And literally looking back now, I'm like $200 is nothing compared to how many hours we were spending,
Hours.
hours every single month, like
Yeah.
just like I really wish I could have that time back.
Like, and it's
But
not just like the Dymo printer could have saved us like 50% of the time. That Dymo printer could have saved us like
yeah,
95% of that time.
yeah, because we print out, well, to be fair, I hate the Dymo label printer and I would not recommend it. If you're looking into like a label printer, I'd recommend like a Rollo or something like that. Um, and it literally can
Hmm.
print out 100 labels in, I want to say like 5 minutes. And then like putting them on to the packages probably takes like another 5 minutes. So like 10 minutes total.
Versus
um
hours.
versus hours, like
Yikes.
oof.
And it wouldn't just be like one person. Whereas, like, if you do that with a Rolo, yes, you can do all of
Mhm.
that with one person. Like, it would be both of
Yeah,
us doing it
we would
together
both
at the
be
same
cutting
time.
and taping and just,
It's
it was like
wild.
a whole like weekend. We spent like a whole weekend working on subscription stuff. Yeah,
It's
so I wish we had considered our or valued our time more and like reinvested or invested
invested.
sooner.
but also like reinvesting in your business and in
Mhm.
yourself. I feel like it's
Yeah.
so easy to be like, well, like I could save that $200
And like
because my labor is
because right,
free.
yeah. But you
But
can't I feel like that's you need to like respect yourself more and like
mhm,
not treat your labor as free.
yes. And something we like to say is you gotta spend money to make money.
Yes.
And
We live by that statement.
I
So,
mean, it's true though, like the few things that you can get for free, like free labor, sometimes you might end up with like free material. It's very, very not often. And it usually isn't actually free. Like you're paying with something, whether it's like you're actually paying with time that you could be spending making more money or like, like it's not actually free.
yeah.
So spend the money, it's worth it. And also like not just investing in equipment, but also investing in like courses, educational content.
Yeah.
That
I
has
feel
been, I think,
like
a big one
that
for us more recently. Like we've
definitely.
invested more in that for us.
I feel like that's
And
something also not a lot of people talk about. Maybe it's just like not as common within our niche or like within the planner community. But definitely like spending some money on like courses. Like one I'm thinking off the top of my head is we recently took like a scalability
mhm.
course by Maya Nicole, and like she teaches you how to scale your business sustainably, which I think she talks about like like hitting
It's like
5K months,
5K,
10K,
10K,
and okay,
25K,
maybe it's
50K,
not
something like that.
something like that. It goes up to like 50K months, but um yeah, so we wanted to learn just like
What kind of
techniques of like
processes,
yeah, what kind of like things that like
systems.
she's implementing to be able to be like consistently hitting 50K months, and I feel like we've definitely like learned a lot from taking her course. So definitely like look into some online courses, I'd say, or like master classes.
Yeah, in terms of just like yes, you could Google things and
Mhm.
DIY it yourself, but it's going to be so painful. As speaking as someone who does that a lot, like Googling, I have grown up Googling things my entire life and just trying to figure
Mhm.
things out on my own. But if it's all gathered together in a course, I finally have reached that point where I'm like, why would I spend
All
weeks
that
and weeks and
time.
weeks
Yeah.
researching when I could have someone tell me everything that I need to know in like one day. At this point, I feel like it's just so worth it to me to not have to waste
Yeah.
my time trying to like sift through the junk
Mhm.
on the internet to figure out
Yeah.
tiny little
And I feel
nuggets.
like that's why we wanted to do e-courses, because like there is so much information out there about like running a sticker shop, but I feel
Mhm.
like there's not like one place where you can like compactly find all the information you need.
I agree.
Um
I agree.
and
And
so
a
I
lot
feel
of the
like
stuff on the internet, I feel like
uh-huh.
is very surface level. Like
Mhm.
how do I start a sticker shop? Okay, well, you need a printer, you need a cutting
Yeah.
machine. It's like, okay, well, what else? Like, what are the
Yeah.
things that I actually need to know? Like,
Yeah,
besides
about
that.
running a business. It's not just like starting a sticker shop, but like you're running a business, and like there's a lot more things than I think people realize when they hear like, "Oh, you run a sticker shop? Like that's so cute." Like, no, it's actually a
They're like,
lot
my
more than
kids love
that.
stickers. It's like,
Uh-huh.
no, it's a business. Like, this is our full time job.
Mhm.
Um, yes, definitely investing in yourself is so important, and it's just fun to learn. I don't know. I love
Yeah.
learning.
It is fun to learn, and I feel like when you're a business owner, it can be like I don't know, you're just like working by yourself, but it's nice to hear like someone else's perspective on things. And,
Definitely.
like, you can always, like, learn from other people.
Yeah, it was so nice listening to Maya and like even the stuff that we already knew. It was just nice to be like, okay, so we are doing things right. Like
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
are doing these things right and we need to work on these other things. And it's cool to like have other students so that we're not feeling like, oh, okay, like everyone else also experiences these
Mhm.
problems too. It's
Yeah.
just nice.
It is nice. It's a nice space.
It is. So what else would you do the same?
So I think the last thing that I would do the same as when I first started is in the beginning, I would run sales pretty frequently. I'd say like at least once a month, I'd say like minimum once a month, um, to just attract new customers. I feel like not a lot of people were doing sales when I first started. So I feel
Hmm.
like that definitely got a lot of new eyes on my products and like people were interested in trying them. Um, and that's definitely something I would still do if I was starting is to run sales to just get new customers. I will say that it's a really fine line between running sales to get new customers and running sales
Because your customers will not purchase
just
any
because
other
your
time.
customer right because your customers are reliant on your sales. Um, so it's definitely a fine line, and you don't want to overdo it.
Agreed. I remember like when were doing sales, it got to a point where we tried like all sorts of different sales techniques, and which I would recommend
Hmm.
people you do. Like definitely
Yeah,
mix it up. Don't just do
don't
X
just do the
percent
same
off.
thing. Yeah, every
Like do
single.
something fun, mix
Yeah,
it up, see what works best with your customers. And in the beginning, it's the best time to try all of that because
yeah.
the
And
stakes are
also,
low.
yeah. And as a reminder, like make sure your products are priced right so that like you can run sales on them and you're not like your prices aren't too low where you like screwed yourself over with a sale or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Because there's definitely been like times in the beginning where I was like, oh, maybe like the sale is too high and like um yes, it's nice that I'm getting orders, but it's like, okay, well, am I really making a
Like, are you
profit
making
here? Like,
money?
am I making money here? Or is my labor just free now? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you really want to make sure that your prices are right and that the sale that you're running is like, it's not making your prices too low where you're like losing money or you're working for free or anything like that. So, definitely like check in on your pricing before you run
Okay,
any sales.
the pricing, you just reminded me, because I feel like pricing is such a hard one for people. We get a lot of
Hmm.
questions on how to figure out pricing for
Yeah.
products, how to price your products, how to do all that. And so that was a section that we made in our workbook. There's
Yes.
like a worksheet, and I also have like a worksheet example filled out of how you would go about pricing things. Not that I'm saying there is an exact formula for pricing.
Right. There's definitely
Um,
not. It's very
yes,
subjective and like
it's an art form.
there's a lot of factors that go into pricing your products. But I
Yeah,
think the ebook does a pretty good job of like covering that.
I'm so excited about it. I was that might be my favorite section with my favorite quote, where I'm like, pricing is like it's like a pinch of common sense and a dash of like
Hmm.
what your gut is telling you with like some of your like regular the formula quote unquote.
Hmm.
That's not the exact quote from it because I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's basically what I'm trying to say about pricing is that there's no 100% correct way to do it. If there
Hmm.
were, everything in the world would be priced what it should be priced,
Yeah.
right?
But
But
everyone
there,
has like a different opinion on what things
yes.
should be priced. So,
Yeah. So we just provide some guidance and a fun worksheet instead. So I hope that helps people because we definitely do get a lot of questions about pricing.
a lot of questions. Okay, wow, this episode is getting long, but we have one more thing that we
Woo!
would do different. And so, why don't you go ahead and say what that is?
Oh my goodness, this one is a big one. Finishing out with putting a bigger emphasis on good customer service and having good reviews. That is something that we would do differently because
Hmm.
I can't speak on what Lisa did before I joined that year
Uh-huh.
before, but
I
like
can
when
say.
I joined the team, we did not have a 5-star rating on Etsy. Like,
Yeah.
and so
I think it was like a 4.7 I want to say. And then, like, for the longest time, it was like 4.9.
Yep.
And then I remember when it finally reached 5 stars. I think at that point we were already like off Etsy, like in terms of like
Maybe.
we were like mostly on Shopify at that point, but like it had finally reached 5 out of 5 stars on Google. Like when you searched up Sticker Guru, it would say like 5 stars. I'm like instead of 4.9. I was like, finally.
Yeah, and it was just, it's not like you had a horrendous shop or anything. It was just like there's some things that you could emphasize more when you're starting out because when you're
Hmm.
starting out, like you want to make a really good impression. You don't want to
Yeah.
piss people off, so that you probably want to put a little bit more
Yeah.
emphasis on good customer service,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning, so that you can
Definitely.
build up good reviews. Because I don't know about you, but like I read reviews. If
I
the
also
product
read
has bad
reviews.
reviews, I'm like, I'm probably not
I'm
going to buy that
clicking away.
product.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um yeah, so I'll say when I first started, I didn't know customers again, a lot of things I didn't know
Well, yeah,
when
to
I
be fair, like you're
started a
also like a high
business.
school student, so
I'm
it's
a
like,
high school
how would
student.
you
I
know?
never like worked in retail, never had
Mm-hmm.
like a client facing job, I guess. So I never had to deal with customer service like, and I was just like hoping like people would leave me a review. Like I was just happy if someone left a review. So um definitely if you look at our Etsy and you like scroll back, um there are a lot of scathing reviews. I'm looking on our Etsy website right now, and like if you go all the way back to like there's 780
Oh God.
pages of reviews,
Uh-huh.
all the way back to January 2016. Like, oof, like some of these reviews are just like scathing. um,
Mm-hmm.
and I just like didn't know how to deal with customers. I remember like people would like send me customer service messages on Etsy because I didn't. There's no way to like email someone. I think so. I would get messages and I would just like respond very. I guess you would say like
Like
bluntly.
blunt. Yeah, but I feel like that's how you are in
That's just
terms of
like how I
like,
am when I
that's how
like
you are.
talk on the internet. And like when I remember when Lucy joined and like she was handling all the customer service stuff, she would always write like hi their name, and then she the first sentence is always like I'm so happy to help you with your like problem. And
Mm-hmm.
like I was like, why do you need to write that? Like just get to the point. Or like if they would ask like a if the customer was asking like a yes no type of question,
Mm-hmm.
um uh and like Lucy would write like a long response to them, and I'd be like, they just want like a yes or a no, like just say yes or no and that's fine. And she's like, no, like this is the right way to do it. And I definitely was like questioning a bit in the beginning. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this seems so unnecessary. Like just get like if
Just get
I
to the
was a
point.
customer, like
Like,
just get to the point. Like just answer
uh-huh.
my question. Like don't tell me some convoluted response that like kind of answers the question
Well, I
maybe.
do answer the question, but it's more of just like you got to create a conversation, which is how
Yeah.
I like to approach things.
Yes. Well, after like a couple years, I finally like accepted it and like, okay, yeah, like this is like a, a good customer service response. And like you do need to like be nice to the customer. You can't just give them like a blunt response. Like,
Yes, no,
yeah.
the order has been shipped. Good
Yeah.
day. I think it helps to have like I worked in retail in college. Like I worked at Abercrombie. I would stand on the front, be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And like full clothes or whatnot. So I feel like that was very helpful. And then I did at my previous job, I was in a client facing role. Like I was an account manager, so I worked with all of our 50 bajillion clients. So I was constantly emailing them, having phone calls with them, etc. And you have to have like like the little small talk and whatnot
Mhm.
to build that sort of rapport. So I just felt like it just comes more naturally to me because what I had experience doing. It may not come natural to you if you never had a role like that before. Like for example, like you studied computer science, and I feel like
Yeah.
you don't need this in computer science. Like this is all just
No.
fluff,
Yeah.
and but it is something to practice. And if you
Yeah.
have no idea how to start, just imagine like the other person is, like you're talking to the other person. Like if you were talking to someone in person, they ask you a question. Yes, you could just be like, yes, no, goodbye. But
But like that would probably come off as like a little rude or like standoffish, and so like you should, say a little bit
like,
more than that.
how are you doing? Hope you have a nice
Yeah.
day. Even just
Yeah.
things like that. Um, and that is something that that I definitely want to talk a lot more about in our upcoming accelerator program, our shop launch accelerator program. Name is
Yeah.
still in work, TBD.
Yes. The name is
But
still work in progress, but we're hoping to start working on that once the ebook has launched. And hopefully our sticker shop accelerator program will be ready by, we're hoping
some
like by the summer,
June. Yeah, we're
June,
hoping for
July.
summer. We will have more details later
Mm-hmm.
as we get closer to it and it's more fleshed out. But definitely, that is a lesson that I want to include. And I'm even thinking like maybe I'll have a bonus where I will have like written out customer response emails that you can just copy and paste. Because there are a lot of things like, oh, this customer wants to know where the package is. Like you could just copy and paste a response for that, is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking in my head. I'm just talking out loud. So things like that. There generally you get the same questions. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty easy to just copy and paste, but still have, like a polite response
Mm-hmm.
for them. So
Yeah.
things like that. But that's what we would do
That's,
differently
yes. If we
and
were
the
starting a
same.
sticker shop over again, that is what we would do, the same or different. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and to hit that bell to turn on post notifications so that you never miss any of our uploads. And don't forget to hit that like button.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye!